Essentially, what we have today is two schools in one building. There's a morning school teaching secular studies with an entire staff, and an afternoon school with teaching religious studies with an entire staff. Each has a head teacher, each has administrative staff, each has its own set of teachers. And the children basically move at lunchtime from one school to the other. The essence of the change in a nutshell is to combine these into a single school to make for a better educational experience for the kids.
Who will be the new head teacher of the school?
So we are very happy to have recruited a teacher from the UK. Her name is Mrs. Posen. And she was previously the teacher of a school called Shalom Noam in London, which is actually a Jewish voluntary aided school, so a Jewish state school, but that has a very similar structure to the one that we have.
And have the other teachers been recruited locally, or are they from the UK as well?
Almost entirely locally. So I think that there are we've had to recruit a full staff. You mentioned in the article that the existing staff elected not to stay. I think it's probably 95% local. I think there are a couple that have come from the UK.
And how are all the teachers funded?
So the secular school will continue as it is today, funded by a grant from the government. And then the religious school, so let's say the religious teachers, the religious textbooks, the whole religious education side of the school will be funded by the community as it is today.
So you still have teachers teaching the secular and then teaching the religious?
So
what was the point of making the change?
They're separate teachers.
So they're separate, but that's what you had before?
Yeah, but it's two schools. So it's very different to be in a single, in other words, imagine that instead of having a math teachers in a school, you had a math school, right, with a math head teacher, and it's completely disjointed, right? Different behavior policies, even different calendars, right? Different uniform policies. It's just having two teams or two schools managing the same kids is not an ideal structure for obvious reasons.
So will these changes allow to change, for example, the calendar? Will the calendar change now? Will the uniform rules change? What kind of changes can we see from the school? No, so broadly speaking, the uniform will stay the same. The Jewish calendar is a bit of a work of art because it goes according to the lunar calendar. So it needs to be everything needs to be adjusted every year. And one of the things that we need to do with the school is make sure that we have a school a calendar that will meet the needs of the Jewish community. We have our own festivals, and also accommodate the non-Jewish staff. I think most of the staff are not Jewish, and they'll want to be able to have vacations at the same time as their kids who are in many cases in other schools. So figuring out the calendar is not a trivial task. You mentioned that the head teacher has come from a faith school in the UK. Is this ultimately becoming more of a faith school? You mentioned also voluntary aided schools which do follow a similar format. Is it a way to turn the school into a more faith school?
No, I wouldn't say so. So the status quo in terms of, let's say, the balance of secular and religious curriculum and things like that is not moving one jot. It's really more of an administrative and structural change. So the fact that there are two, if you imagine having a football team that has two managers, one manages the defense, one manages the attack. It's just not going to work as well as if you have a single manager and a single team. So really what we're trying to do is have the kids under a single school with a single team.
It does sound like the school will have a bit more independence being run by the Board of Governors. Is there a risk that this will segregate the pupils?
Segregate them?
From the rest of the community?
So that's an excellent question, and it's one that we've considered quite carefully. We have the governor's responsible for the ethos of the school, and one of the core points of the ethos is that we're trying to build good Gibraltarian citizens with strong links to the rest of the community. So we are very much going to do everything possible to achieve the opposite. In other words, to make sure that the school is very well integrated, even better integrated than today in the wider community.
Can non-Jewish children attend the school?
It's unlikely that they would want to.
But could they if they wanted to?
I think theoretically they could. I don't know how the rules for that work.